Here. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hey, good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Made it.
Don't do that. Trademark, Luke. Trademark. I have to cover my Timberland t-shirt. Like, oh no. Yeah, welcome back to
Product placement.
Writey Tonightey.
Tonightey.
Sponsored by Timberland.
Sponsored by Timberland. And Sparkle Cam.
Sparkle Cam.
We are back for another Writey Tonightey. The last time we did this was X amount of weeks ago. I haven't got a clue.
Specifically.
A little bit lower on the numbers this time.
Okay, it's not the first time it was just us streaming, is it? I think.
No, it's not the first time because we read Fishers together for the very first
did.
episodes of this, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
So we're royalty.
And we did in infinitesimal. We had that a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's nice to get nostalgic
episodes.
about our fledgling streaming career already.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this one, as always, it's
what's on the menu?
We trudge through the Writey Tonightey blurb is that we trudge through our other folders and do weird writing exercises. And we've decided to sort of like forego the prompt. We've done a lot of prompts recently and we decided let's do something different. And Burge, who's unfortunately not here, suggested a flash fiction. Now, the rules of flash fiction are you write to a set amount of word count, which we have. We've each wrote no more than 500 words, I hope. Anyway, I'm not sure if someone has gone like slightly over that. And we've given ourselves a genre, a location, and an object. Those being thriller, pawn shop, and tin can. Empty can, I think the actual prompt was.
Empty can, yeah.
Empty can. So you can interpret the word can as you wish. I've gone for tin can myself.
That's good, because I think I have to.
Favourite of all my top list of cans. Watch my other video, top 10 cans, and you would know that number one is tin can.
As opposed to petrol can or watering can.
Drinking tin can of beans. Can of beans was, like front runner.
I feel like I've missed so many tricks from my musings on this one.
Honourable mention, can of kidney beans, because like it gets often overlooked. Because when you think of can of beans, you think baked beans from the UK. But
do you think baked beans?
Is it a beans or is it a pulse?
Is baked beans like a very English thing?
Oh, 100% is it? It's the Britishest thing in the world.
If I go abroad, if I go to like America or South America, am I going to be able to find a tin of beans? Or is it going to be...
if you were saying tin of beans, they would ask you what beans. 100% they would ask you what beans. Baked beans are... When Seth, my friend from Canada, came over, he was like always mentioning like, what the hell is your obsession with baked beans? This beans in tomatoes. I was like, they're the best thing in the world and shut the fuck up. Otherwise, we will kick you out of this country.
Come the apocalypse, we will... beans will be the absolute
currency. Do beans actually
of the
feature
world.
in anyone's story?
Oh, mine is all
beans. I am about the beans.
All bean all the time. I've got 0 beans. I'm a bean-free tail.
I cheated, and it's just a guy counting to 500 beans.
499. Oh shit! I lost count.
Damn it! No, it's 499, and then the word beans.
Beans.
2, 3.
Yeah. That's one way of interpreting the prompt. Isn't it?
Yeah. So how did you guys find doing this? How did you fare? What did
Good.
You learn?
I enjoyed it because we were discussing what sort of length, because some of flash fiction is like 5 words long, some of it's like me 1,500, 1,000 words, and I think you and me answered the question at the same time as to which one we wanted to go for, and I said 5, and you said like the 1,500 options. Yeah. So we settled somewhere in the middle on the 500, which
I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I rattled along quite quickly to 250. I thought I might struggle a bit actually. And then before I knew it, I got to about 640. I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. So I basically spent the last 36 hours trimming random words.
I was full of confidence for the early story. I was super full of confidence, going like, oh yeah, these sentences are like 100 words max. I can get 5 of these, no problem. But then like the end just slowly creeps up on you, and you realize, oh my god, I have to.
Yeah, you got to wrap up
some
sort
ending to this.
You want some sort of beginning, middle, and end, I guess.
Yeah, you have 4
ideally
left, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to like finish this now. But I enjoyed it. It really sort of like taught me, because I do tend to, when I write, like try to sort of like I'm a bit overcomplicated, a bit wordy. And like in going back to my earlier sentences and like trimming them down, I genuinely think that they work better now than they did previously with all the words.
I've had that as well, actually, because I said yesterday I was about 640 and I thought, how am I going to do? Well, I've actually just trimmed whole sentences on this. I don't think the story's missing anything for it.
No,
There's like a bit of story, a bit of background detail that's kind of not necessary to what I'm trying to do. So
yeah, that's it. Like all these like little like added things. Like I would like his gaze followed him, and I'm like, you don't really need to see that. Like he just says like just you don't need to describe one character looking at the other character like doing something. You can just describe the other character doing something and just assume that the first character's watching. So there was a lot of that where I was just like, that's shit. Don't need that. And I ended up cutting it, and it ended up being quite nice.
So you say a bit tighter and a bit. How about you, Lee? You say you pretty much landed on the.
Yeah, I sat down to write, blacked out, and then there was 500 words of nonsense on my page.
Ideal.
I could easily make this 1,000 words. Like, don't even get me wrong, I can make it 1,000 words. But I do think it's better for mine. But I did this really interesting thing where I trimmed mine. So I was going back and like rewarding myself 2 words and then like feeding them in. And then like a couple of days ago, I just like read through it and just deleted things. But I was just like, no, this doesn't give you a free word later. You don't need that free word later. Just leave it. So I left it, and I think I left it at about, we'll figure it out later, but I left it at about 495. And then I had this other idea for to tack on at the very end of mine. So I tacked on a single sentence at the end of mine that completely changes the ending. So I quite like the idea of like,
yeah, curious what that's going to be.
So it's quite interesting. But
save that kind of stuff for after. Once we've read it, you always spoil things somewhat. And now I have expectations.
What
now,
I'll do, right?
If it doesn't change it enough, yours. We're gonna cut you out from your story, out from the entire thing, and you're done.
Right. What I've done, right, is I've highlighted it over in black, and I'll only reveal the last line after we've read the original, okay? Just so that you can see how it kind of changes it.
If this does not shake the ground upon which I walk, we are through.
Luke,
so
you can suck my.
There's obviously the 3 of us, and Adam Bunn was never going to be part of this session because he had other plans. But happy birthday, Bill. But
happy birthday.
Burge was originally going to join us, but he's not been able to. But he has written something, hasn't he? So it's whether we get around to reading his as well as part of.
Yeah, I reckon we do, just to sort of like discuss it and give it a go.
And he's put the effort. He's put the work in, so might as well.
It'd be shame because like it'd be shame to like try and tack it on to a later thing when this is the.
I don't think I'm speaking out of school when I said I don't think he wasn't too happy with his own work, was he? He's kind of, but it might just be Burge being modest, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
When we're all in tears at the end of the stream.
And, like, that was beautiful.
I've never seen an empty can in such a way.
Well, it's a thriller, so could it even be like that? We need some thrills, not lovey-dovey.
Yeah, so just before we do we discuss how we found the individual components afterwards?
Go for it.
Or we'll do that now or after?
Let's do it after. I'm eager to dig in to the meat.
Okay,
I know you were struggling with thriller, weren't you?
Oh, I really struggle with thriller. Like, I would say I would still classify mine as a thriller, but it's very vaguely a thriller. Very, very vaguely a thriller.
I don't mind going first. We're going to take the fun.
Yeah.
Let's get Philly up.
Can someone else read it for me? I don't want to read it.
I'll read it. I'm happy to read it if you want. Should we read each other's? So I prefer to read mine.
No,
though.
I want to read my own.
You can read mine and your own, Iolo. I'll just say.
Okay, I'll do that. I don't mind.
Phil, if you're not going to read yours, you have to read Burge's.
Okay,
you've got to do some reading.
Okay, cool.
It's my least favourite component of Writey Tonightey is the reading out loud subpart.
I'll read yours. I'm quite happy to read yours. I'm in for that.
I'm curious to hear it in your voice.
Cool. Okay. I'll try and put like my best narrator voice on. And here we go. We are going to swap to the reading one.
Thriller.
There's a stray W at the top there. I'm guessing that doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was an old version. Yeah, that doesn't need to be there. That's not. Doesn't count on my word count.
It does, and you've disqualified. No, I'm just kidding.
What is your word count, Philly?
500. Oh. Including the words "the end."
Oh, look at that. Right. Queen's Pawn on the corner of 62nd Street, my last refuge. It's been 7 months since I took out the loan. 7 months is the biggest mistake of my life. The bank said no. My parents laughed. A couple of friends vouched for my Zephyr Ellis.
What is it? These are frillies. Sorry.
These are frillies. They're reasonable, I was told. If you pay them back, you'd never have to see them again. The terms, 6 months with 600 quid on top for the privilege. I'd find a way to settle the debt. Something always comes up. That's what I told myself. I'm now a month overdue, and they've been threatening me for weeks. Which brings me to the corner of 62nd, a dingy part of town where ambition goes to die. Like that. I clutch the package close to my chest to shield it from the rain. A black saloon cruises by. I step back and eye it with caution. I eye every car with caution now. My phone jolts into life in my pocket just as I get to the door. A quick glance. 64th Street, 10 minutes. Shit. I stuff the mobile into my jacket and shoulder my way into the dimly lit shop. You've never seen such a miscellany of tat. Old toys, old TVs, dusty tomes and rusted jewels. I sidle up to the counter, but there's a queue. The old lady behind isn't in a hurry. She's eyeing up a punter's necklace with a magnifying glass. She must be the queen. I need her on my side, so I stay quiet. I take a breath. My phone buzzes. 6 minutes. There's only one guy in front of me carrying a VCR. I tap him on the shoulder. Buying or selling? Selling, he grunts back. Can I go next? I'm in a bit of a rush. No. Fuck. I have no choice. I stumble to the front, fumbling my wrapped package onto the counter, my hands shaking as I draw the empty can from its sheath. How much for this? She glances at me with a glint in her eye. You'll wait your turn. But it's urgent. I feel the panic in my voice. Another car rolls by outside. She ignores me and returns to the necklace. Buzz. 2 minutes. Time's up. I bolt out of the shop, leaving everything behind. Maybe if I turn up, I'll be able to delay them another week. Back at the shop, life goes on. The seller settles on a price for the necklace and the VCR earns the gentleman some drinking money. As the queen is winding down, she notices the empty can on the counter. She dusts it off and inspects it with a magnifying glass. Her eyes widen as she spots the inscription on the vintage tin. My, this was Churchill's. Would have paid the lad a fair penny for this. Ah, well. She finds a prime spot on the shelf and shuts the door for the night, barely registering the sound of gunshots in the distance. The end.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very well done, buddy. That was really, really good. That was.
I enjoyed hearing that. It was quite nice.
That was really, really cool, mate. That was awesome. Really well done.
I felt the tension. It was edible.
That was really,
was it a thriller?
Really cool. That was like.
Oh, thanks for reading that, man.
I think you win the thrillerest of thrillers. You definitely win that. Like thrillerest thriller goes
yeah,
to
sort
Phil.
of leaned into the tone at first, and then. But yeah,
you can't award any awards when we've only done one of the four.
Did you not hear me just award the thrillerest thriller award?
As the oldest, I deny you that ability at that point.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll award thriller to the end then, and I'll then award the canest can, and then I'll award the pawn shoppiest pawn shop.
The porniest pawn.
The porniest shop.
Well, I had a chess pun in there as well, so it's kind of,
So, like, as is always the case when you read someone else's work and you've got work to read, there's like a thread of dread running through you. Luke, what's your thread of dread? Do you have one, or are you just like 100% confident in yours, no qualms with it?
I have voices to do, and I've read through it a couple of times, but I can't make the voices consistent. So we'll see how I go.
My thread of dread was reading out loud, so you've saved me from that.
Mine is 100% a thriller, and mine I think I've only just now cottoned on what a thriller is, and I'm like, yeah, mine's not a thriller.
You feel tension with the phone buzzing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, gunshots and murder suspects and stuff. Although there's a really funny sort of like a comparison to mine, so I'll talk to about
yeah,
that.
I mean, I was curious about that. I mean, there's a fair chance we all land on the same sort of motif, really. But
there's a classic thing where if you're in a pawn shop and then we've got like an innocuous object, there's this idea that the innocuous object is worth a lot of money, and it's sort of like very similar. Like yours is Churchill, and I don't want to talk too much about mine. But yeah, that was really good, mate. That was really, really well written. Like you got a mix of dialogue and writing. There's some cracking words in there. I think I stopped to mention it.
Where ambition goes to die.
Where ambition goes to die. That is like something from like an old detective novel. Like, she came into my office. I was playing a dingy part of town where ambition goes to die.
A bit noir.
Yeah, it was very noir. It was great. It was really cool, and it was really smart. I would like one question: what's a Zephrellis?
No, that's the gang.
Frellies, it's the gang.
The gang that he's borrowed money from, the loan sharks.
Okay.
It's just the
right. There's a Frellies. Okay, because you told me I was like, oh, is that like an object? I thought it was an object for a second. That's just me being an idiot.
I think there's probably more on that in my initial draft about who those Zofrellis were and stuff, and why he wanted the money in the first place. But I figured that wasn't necessarily that important to the overall.
That's fair enough. Okay, because I think like my stupid brain went straight into like, is Zofrelli some aliens or something? And then like later on, it's just like gunshots. I'm like, oh no, that's not that kind of story. But it was cool. I really liked it. And you had like dialogue and stuff. That's really like quite a suave move for like a 500 word. It's pretty sexy, very nice. And at the end, that like adds you to the 500.
That's my 499 and 500. So.
501 technically if you count the W. So you know
the
like,
W, the rogue W at
the
start. Like disqualified.
We'll have to deliberate on that privately, won't we, Luke?
Privately, it's done. The matter is settled. I beautifully read though. Thank you. You brought it to life.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was very well put together. And I think I agree with you that the 500 words, I feel like, like it could, as you said, you could have easily gone into context about like loads of different things. Like you could have like really gone like poetic about the cars driving by and stuff. But because it's like limited and the word count is just like, it's all you need to know. It like adds to this tension because like the sentences.
Yeah,
like,
it's sort of punchier, isn't it? Because of it. Yeah, but like literally has to shorten some sentences and it's a bit, brings the pace of it, I guess.
Because you're not going into the pawn shop and then there's like an entire sentence of like, it smelled of old dust and blah blah blah. Because it's just like you kind of like you read it and it's read in the same somewhat urgency as the guy going into the shop because you only get the information as needed.
That's a good interpretation. I like it.
Perfect. Yeah, excellent. Very well done, buddy.
Thanks, man. Very well Appreciate that. But
who's next? We've agreed that Burge goes last, so it's either me and you, Luke.
I say if Luke goes next, because then we can break up Iolo's monopoly of Iolo's voice. Monopoly, not monotony. Your voice is beautiful.
Thank you. I'm just going to quickly, just because, and this is like a peek behind the scene, I've gone to viewing mode, and because of that, I can't edit it. I'm just going to add a page of blankness after it, just because it stopped scrolling, and our faces were in the way of it for our viewers, because I'm always considerate of the viewers. Always. I'm the one looking out for you. Luke hates you. Luke wants you to go away. I want to stay and enjoy listening to this. But I've done that now, so we can move on. Luke Williams is next. Here we go.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Barglefurts couldn't believe his luck. That's the second time this week that Grober Thoughts has brought him a human curiosity. These things always fetched a few hundred grab-thazzles. By Durble Sousers, Maine, you've done it again, Grober. Where you find these trinkets, I don't know, and knowing I don't want, says Barglefurts, as his hands dance around the shiny edges on his prize, and he squints to read the runes. High ends. What's high ends? Grober Thoughts coarsely hawks up a globule of mucus, which he spits on the already caked masonry, making even Barglefurts one of the most proudly repulsive of all the Magafrat's peoples retch in disfavour. It wasn't easy to come by. You wouldn't believe the hassle I got from the guards, he whispers hoarsely. Since Magafrul stepped up to lead, business has been less than favourable. So I'm sorry, my dear Bargle, my prices have risen. Risen, roars Barglefurts. Risen, always with the risen. Every time you wobble your fat head in my shop, it's risen. How am I supposed to turn a profit if... Barglefurts pauses mid-sentence. His eyes slowly roll upwards, away from his trinket and lock with Grober Thoughts' leaking, pus-ridden eye mounds. A grin creaks and cracks across his wide, swollen face, revealing dagger-like teeth which emerge like hungry parasites from a weeping sore. Risen, Grober Thoughts. I'll show you risen, he bellows. His eyes are manic as he creepily reaches into his skin waistcoat, still bearing the original bloodstains from the human he harvested it from. Listen, Bargle, I don't want any trouble. I'm only here to peddle me wares. I can give you a very nice deal on some Finkelwhopper shells, dust included, for my old pal. Groberthorpe backs away from the counter, bumping into a stack of Humber mouse pelts, which tumble out of the bone basket they were stored in. He slips on the hollowed-out skin, and the vivid light from the stink bug lamp outside illuminates his wretched face an eerie, envious green hue. Barglefurs, or perhaps someone else now, edges into the brighter light from outside. His hand emerges from his waistcoat, grasped around a long, contorted hook. Come on, Bargy, you can have it. It's free. Yeah, free, mate. Just don't hurt me, please. I've got Gregasack and the twins to worry about. You can't do that to them, Bargy. He's visibly sweating. Beads roll over his noses and then into his one beady eye, which laps them up, then gather below into tear-like droplets. Barglefurt steps completely into the light. He reaches outwards slowly with the hook, breathing deep crackles through obstructed airways. His arm raises the hook, and Groberthorpe's shaking with fear. He's shaking with fear. So tangible you could taste it. No, Bargy, please. I said you can have it. Have it all. Just don't hurt me, he says, emptying several more identical trinkets from his coat. Like lightning, Barglefurt's stubby, bulging, hook-clenching fist flies down and pops the hook on the shelf. Cheers, mate, he says cheerily, scooping up his gains.
Well done, buddy. That was really, really good.
That was cool. A lot of that, yeah.
Very
Orcish flavour. Yeah. I was impressed by how much description you got into such a short stories.
See, that was my interpretation of suspense. Was in the dialogue. If I use deep, descriptive, more sort of powerful words to create the atmosphere, I suppose, and then obviously release the tension at the end with an innocuous nothing.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, that was it was really good. That I really quite like that because I like the there was one little bit that I wanted to say I really liked. Give me a second. I'm literally trying to find it now. A bead of sweat drip down his noses. I always just really like, especially in sci-fi, like when they like do that little like really subtle hint at his alienisms. Instead of going, he has three noses or whatever. It's like sweat
it's just a little,
down his
like I say,
noses.
it's
Just like that little play.
illusion.
Like Douglas Adams does it a lot and things. It's like really, it's like a really cool way of doing sci-fi. It was ace, mate. That was really cool. I was so hooked by that I forgot to scroll. So there's like a bit where I'm like, oh shit. I was literally just like, yeah, I'm really in for it. That was ace.
I always love writing when I can make my own words up.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's evident in but suddenlies and all sorts. I really enjoy when I have full control over what I want to do in that respect.
It boggles my mind that is 500 words and you have so much descriptive things, and I had to gut mine. I had to absolutely like carve mine of adjectives. Mine is just like his hat, whereas before it was like his soft woolen hat or whatever. I was like, no, fuck it. You're not getting any descriptions, and you're there going like Humbermouse pelts, and I'm like, I'm so jealous. I'm kind of super jealous of it. It was great. It was really fun. That was really. Oh, there it goes. His eye slowly rolled upwards, away from his trinket, and lock with Groberthorpe's leaking, pus-ridden eye mounds. A grin creaks and cracks across his wide, swollen face, revealing dagger-like teeth, which emerge like hungry parasites from a weeping sore. It's cool,
That's good, man. That's
really,
nicely
really well
written.
That. That's cool. That's really cool. You've got like a knack for sci-fi writing, mate. You should be writing something. Like, here's the thing, is that, like, Luke Williams, Mr. I did this afternoon, is a talented writer that should be writing, but, like, you have to be, like, beaten into submission to do something. You should be doing this. That should be a book.
There's a very strong case for me having ADHD. Very strong case for it, because, like, I've got a couple of things in the works, and I eternally have things in the works that I just can't settle to give them my attention, but, you know, I work really well under pressure, less well when I have time.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's always just pushing that deadline and kind of puts a bit of pressure on.
Yeah,
gives you something to aim for.
Yeah.
Whereas Iolo's just prolific in all ways and just writes for fun, seemingly.
But I do it for fun. But like that's the issue fundamentally, is that I jump from project to project. that I have like a million half-written things. I do actually have an idea for something that we should do at the end. So remind me of that on stream. It's a Writey Tonightey thing. That was well done. Two really strong. This is that like that. I have that thing of dread from Luke's. Is that I was like, oh my god, like and Phil's. It's like these are really good, and mine's utter shit. So I'm just like, oh okay, this will be fun. Ah well, at the very least, I've
see.
done it.
Usually, I feel that it's the opposite way around in the sense that not necessarily Phil's, but I always feel that you write these, like epic stanzas of prose and script, and I have these dry kind of impotent sentences that I've had to gut because I'm too aware that I sit there and like creaks, let's see what the thesaurus says.
But my weakness is word count. It's my Achilles heel, it's my kryptonite, and it is evident in mine. It's like I just beat you until you admit that mine is good, and I can't do it in this one because it's only 500 words, and it's like I feel like it's like showing my inner.
I can picture you doing like a very contorted version of what Phil did with the end. You're like, I've got 7 words. It is now the end of the story. Bye.
No, but there is that little tacked on end bit. Was that on stream that I mentioned that I've like highlighted in black?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so good. So I've got extra words to add to mine later. I'll highlight it on stream, but if you guys would just run your cursor over it so you can see it, it'll like highlight and you'll be able to read it. But yeah, should we move on to mine?
Yala's utter schlock. It's titled in the folder.
Yeah. No. That's the actual title of the thing as well. Right. I shall read mine then, shall I? Right. Here we go. Please be nice. Right. The empty can was just that, an empty tin can. You've likely seen one 1,000,000 times before. It bore no reasonable worth and was only in the pawnbrokers because it had been bought along with a bag of other useless oddities, spanners, drill bits, nails, a bundle of items they'd usually sell for scrap. The entire bag was worth a tenner at most. Clutched in the old patron's wrinkled hands, however, it was like an extension of him. With his run-down rags, bedraggled beard and pock-marked skin, he looked like he was waiting for Edwin to throw a quid in it so he could buy lunch. The curious man had sauntered into his uncle's pawnbrokers, poured out the Parker pens they'd stored in it, and hurriedly rushed over to the till, tossing cash onto the counter if it had no meaning to him. Therein lay the problem. Stacked in a mound in front of Edwin was roughly £1,000 in bills. Edwin was at a loss for words. The man wanted to pay 1,000 quid for what they deemed so worthless they used it to store pens. Something must have been amiss. There must be some inherent worth to the can they'd previously overlooked, some historical significance. What was he to do? Accept the offer, be £1,000 richer, and then read online later that Queen Victoria's tin can had been put on sale for millions? The man hardly looked like a connoisseur, but they seldom did. As far as Edwin knew, this man pored over antique tin cans in his spare time. He was profiting from their ignorance. On the other hand, the man could just be straight bonkers. He definitely had that look to him. His beard stretched down to his abdomen, braided in places with twine. His clothes were dirty. For all Edwin knew, the poor fellow was hearing voices. Had the tin can spoke to him, begged him to be free from a fate of holding pens on a broker's shelf? Still, a grand is a grand, and if his uncle were to find out he'd passed on selling a tin can for that much, he'd surely get hiding. Having contemplated it a moment, Edwin decided to take the money. If it were to come to pass that the can was worth millions, then so be it. It was their own fault they hadn't figured out its inherent worth. The man rushed out of the pawnbroker's, gleefully clutching his newfound possession. Leaving the shop, Edwin looked on. The strange man sighed in relief, smiled warmly, and looked upon his can. He flicked his wrist, and suddenly the can morphed into a gigantic blue pointed hat. The man placed the hat on his head, turned to Edwin, and winked, before disappearing into a puff of smoke. The money quickly followed suit, disappearing from existence before Edwin's eyes. Was it even real? Was it all a dream? Had he gone mad? And that's where I originally ended it. And then I added on. Oh shit, I'm going to have to quickly undo this. And I'll read the last sentence with it. The money quickly followed suit, disappearing from existence before Edwin's eyes. Was it even real? Was it all a dream? Had he gone mad? Probably, answered the empty can in his grasp. And there we go. That's mine. Z.
Very good. Beautiful.
Very
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Bit simple,
It's the most canny of them all.
It is the most canny of them all. I think you get the canniest can award.
Yes.
Canniest can.
That's
No, that's
what
really cool.
I wanted. Yeah, it was, as you can see it.
Yeah, go on.
Carry on. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was to say we were saying it's not a thriller. I feel like there is that sort of tension / intrigue to it of wondering what's his dilemma of whether or not it's going to be worth it.
I started off like being, and this was all talk about the end thing, is I had it be like a bit more like of a tense exchange between him and this weird guy.
Yeah.
Where like maybe he wasn't willing to sell it and the guy was like a bit too insistent, but that ended up being too wordy. So I ended up I was like, oh, let's make him a wizard, and like the wizard's paid a lot of money for his own hat back. And then I was just like, oh, it'd be funny if and then I had like space to spare, so I was like, oh, I'll make the money disappear as well. And then because I mentioned that they like maybe he was hearing voices, I had the can talk, and that's the little section that I thought completely changes the story. It goes from guy is swindled by wizard to is it all a dream? Is it your crazy person?
Probably.
Fight Club-esque Tyler Durden-esque things. But that's mine.
It was good, man. It's
very
good.
Nicely written.
Thanks. Yeah,
some nice descriptive sentences in there.
Yeah,
I very much like. Let me find the one that I liked. Was it? Where was it? There was a really nice descriptive sentence.
Just was looks for that. Yeah, it was just looks. Like as you said, similar to mine. It's the tin can. If it's something as mundane as a tin can, you got to try and find some sort of potential significance to it.
That's it.
And
I went for Queen Victoria, which was quite funny to me because you mentioned her being the queen, and I was like, oh, the queen's there, like an expensive can. I was like, oh, there's a lot of like sort of synergy there.
I feel like now that at the end you knew he was a wizard of sorts, I feel like you'd put the breadcrumbs there for us to follow. And in that sentence, which caught me, with his rundown rags, bedraggled beard, and pockmarked skin, that's a great description of a wizard. Exactly that.
Without that context, you wouldn't necessarily.
And then what was he missing? The wizard's hat, because that's an earmark of a wizard.
Well spotted, man.
Because the original idea, I like the idea that like this wizard paid an inordinate amount for a tin can because he'd like maybe metaphoricized it into a can, and like he'd lost it somehow, and then he found it, and then he like got his little magic hat back. But then I was just like, oh, it'd be funny if it was just like completely a dream, or like the money disappeared, and I just added like little intrigue bits to the end. But it could easily like there's 3 points where it can end, and it's kind of like a different story. The wizard disappeared, but he still has the money. Next sentence, the money disappears and he's fucked. Is it even real? Next sentence, it's all like in his head. So it's like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing this. It was thoroughly enjoyable write, I have to say.
Did you say you got up to about 1,500 words originally?
Oh my God. I was so desperate to describe the wizard once he left the shop. I was like begging for it, gagging for it, and I just had no words I could get rid of. And like I even considered like getting rid of his because I feel like out of all of us, the least happens in mine. It's like a bit more contemplative, like it's a bit more in his head. And I wanted to get rid of like a section of like the contemplation to an extent and just have it be like physical. And so I wanted it to be like bang bang bang. Wizard has left and he's got the hat, and then I can then describe the wizard like having lost his hat and like what the context of the hat loss was. And I started writing that, and I was like, no one wants to know how he lost the hat. It's better if I just like contemplate it a bit more. And
it's funny, that's sort of where I was in terms of like the reason for why he needed the money in the first place, but it's not necessarily relevant to the actual.
That's it, isn't it? Like it's like
the thrust of the
But Burge gave us some good advice, which was like, remember you have to sort of like start it in the middle, and like that's fairly interesting. But like the thing that I found hard was like, what part of the story do you shine the spotlight on? Which is like where like you imagine like this is a massive story, like the actual length of the proper story if you were to write it is about like 1,000 words or whatever. Where do you put that 500 word spotlight and take that chunk where it's still like a cohesive story? And I just chose like the interaction between him and the wizard. But like, I quite like your guys' ones as well, because like, I'm gonna, before we go to Burgess, obviously like I'll maybe reassess the awards thing now. But I'm gonna claim canniest can. I think Phil's is thrillerist thriller. and Luke was pawn shoppiest pawn shop, I think, because like you had like bone baskets filled
all the
with
trinkets
clogs and stuff. I think like
no, it was Humber mouse pelts. Thank you.
Humber mouse pelts in the bone baskets. I feel like from the description of it's kind of appropriate realistically, because 100% Luke had the most descriptive pawn shop. Like the can played the more of a role in mine, and Phil's was just like by the thrillerest one. It was like like definitely a thriller. So but thriller by like the more traditional sort of like mindset, because I still consider Luke's a thriller, a sci-fi thriller. It's just that Phil's is the more like traditional, like you imagine like the sort of like gangs and guns and stuff in a thriller.
Wholeheartedly agree. Phil's. Don't get me wrong. I felt that there was tension in mine, but I felt the tension in mine was maybe because I wrote it, but it was more under control. Where Phil's, it was almost like as much desperation, and you could feel it, and it was nicely elicited.
Yours was like the visible, the apparent threat of violence, whereas like Phil's was the
unspoken,
unspoken threat of violence, like these cars passing him, and like it's this timer and stuff. It was like really sort of like tense, which is the word.
It's interesting how different we all sort of lean into it in different aspects of this.
I was genuinely concerned, because it was empty can and pawn shop. I was genuinely concerned that like everyone would be like somehow doing like a sale of a can somehow, and I was really concerned that mine was going to be similar to everyone else's, because everyone was going to be like this can is sold blah blah blah, or like either a worthwhile can, or someone who like, I don't know, like thinks his can is worth a lot and doesn't get much money for that. I thought that was like the options, but it was really good, guys. Good job. And shall we read Burgess now?
Yeah,
let's do it. This is where he beats us on all three categories.
Oh yeah, this is where we like just like get like shown up again. Like it's the typical Burge move of just like making ours feel like primary school work.
And this is read by Lord Roberts.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, there's two of you.
Yes, Iolo. Our best.
Lord Roberts Prime.
Who's Prime?
Phil's older than you. Phil's older than you.
You can be Prime. I can relinquish Prime.
Supreme Prime.
Okay, Supreme Prime. So I'm regular Prime and Supreme Prime. You've given us like two different designations. It has to be Phil has an extra one somehow.
Supreme Prime. You're just Roberts.
And me and Phil will consult this without you later. we'll do the W thing, and then right. Let's move on to Burgess' script. Here we go. Oh, give me a second before you do that. Sorry. This is all background stuff, but I have to add a page afterwards, otherwise it doesn't scroll properly.
Okay.
There we go. I am now done, and I'm going to go back to viewing mode, and we are ready. Sorry about that, Phil.
I'm just going to zoom in for myself because my eyes are terrible. Canned meat. Can I get something for this? Christopher held up the empty tin can. Is it vintage? The owner stared at him with distaste. She knew there was something odd about him the moment he walked in. Is it special in some way? Christopher shook his head. The owner pretended to examine the can. Are the ridges authentic? Christopher nodded, obvious to the owner's jest. I'd estimate it's worth fuck all, mate. It's the can. The owner slammed the can onto the counter. Christopher flinched. His left eye twitched. There's a recycling centre down the road. Clear off. You don't understand. Christopher looked at the can in fear. I need something for this. The owner rifled through some receipts and picked one at random. It's not even worth this, but I'm feeling generous. Christopher said, the receipt, KY Lube. The owner snatched the receipt back and scrunched it up. Get out. But I need something for this can. Are you an imbecile or something? Christopher shook his head. No, it's just the can needs... The owner knocked the tin can onto the floor. I need you to leave. Christopher looked stricken. What have you done? Bell at the door chimed. An elderly man walked in. Yes, dear, how can I help you? The owner called out to him in a sweet voice. Don't come any closer, screamed Christopher, as the man began walking to the counter. Pay no attention to him, the owner scoffed. He's a bit, you know. He tapped the side of his head. The man looked disconcerted, but continued towards the counter regardless. As he walked past the tin can, there was a loud metallic sound, like an industrial saw. He stepped up to the counter and made to speak, but found that he couldn't. Are you okay, pet? The owner watched in horror as the red jagged lines of blood appeared across the man's face and clothes, until they deepened so much that his whole body sloped into a pile of pieces on the floor. Oh, what's going on? Christopher silently scooped up the man's remains inside the tin can. Instead of filling it up, the can remained empty, hungry for more. I said I needed something for the can.
Love it.
Nice.
Love it.
How many words is it? Is there a word count thing on the Google Doodah?
Why are you doubting him?
No, I mean I'm sure it's like 497 or something.
Phil doesn't want to lose his award.
375. That's
Really?
just flexing. That's
forced
flexing. And that's including the title. Very well done.
I like that. That's good though.
That was really good. That was really enjoyable. Very dialogue heavy, and I quite like that. Like I feel like I missed a beat without putting dialogue in mine. I just like forgot. I forgot dialogue existed.
It had a really cool. Very Little Pet Shop of Horrors vibe to
it. I like the concept of the can that consumes needs to be fed.
Burge does like character well. Like there's like little like moves that he does, Burge, that is like seasoned writers would do it. Where like say I write that, right? And there's a line in it where it's like, oh, ignore him. He's, and I would go, oh, he's weird or he's bonkers. But the fact that Burge stopped him short and had him tap the side of his head just like brings you into the moment more, visualizes it more. And like, you just like, it's that extra little flourish that like brings you into the story that little bit more. Whereas I would just go like, oh, ignore him. He's mental. That would be mine. And it's just a bit like by the by. Whereas like Burge's little like flourishes like that always make a story a bit more interesting.
I really liked it.
It's like his work on his previous work when he did the Monday thing. There was so much choices in that Monday thing that I was just like, that only Burge would do those choices. Like, and I wish I could do those choices, but like, it's just like Burge's magical mind.
Plus, speaking of only Burge would slip KY Lube in there as well.
100%, yeah. Slip the old KY.
This is a little pawn shop trinket.
I know, yeah. He's like, Burge has to have a gag in there. But I really like that. Like, I need something for the can. I didn't even see that coming. I'm not sure about you guys. Like,
no,
I need something for the can. That is not something like I was interpreting it as that like this guy is desperate for something and he's going to go outside and like die of starvation or do something like that. But the fact that like I need something for the can, as in he needs something to feed the can, is really cool.
Yeah, can I get
something? If I'm going to be honest with you, I got the Pet Shop of Horror vibes straight away. I'm not going to say that I could see where it was going, but definitely this felt like the natural route of the story. Yeah, I very straight at the beginning, when he said like you don't understand, and Christopher looked at the can in fear. I need something for this.
Yeah,
that's when it's like, yeah, something's up with the can. The can's going to do something. I got that vibe. Well, I suppose
if you wanted to keep it until a bit later, that's like the phrase that you would change. Like he maybe like looked. You'd maybe get rid of that like at the can from it. Like he looked at the owner in fear. Like at least then like this, it doesn't like in your mind it doesn't connotate fear with the can, and then like it lets the audience a bit more.
Well, I think he's done it really well because you didn't notice that until I pointed it out.
No, it's true.
So he's as you did, and I think and Phil did it, but very much you. That breadcrumbs, the trail of breadcrumbs, that on second read it reveals a lot more.
And Can Me is a cracking title. Yeah. I was literally going to say at the start, like it's such a flex to have a title, but like Canned Meat is the perfect title. So
appropriate, yeah.
Yeah, it's 100% appropriate. I really like that.
Good job, Burgie.
Yeah, good job, Burgess.
Touché, sir. Touché.
We've never called him Burgie or Burgess.
I always call him Burgess. When I'm talking about him to myself, like, oh, Burgess.
Oh, Burgess.
But yeah, that's our attempts, and I feel like we all fucking nailed it. In all fairness to us, good job, guys. We did really, really well.
Pat on the back all around.
Good exercise. Good little practice for us. I think like this is I really like the sort of like the other things that we get to do. Like rather than it being a plot, doing like these other little like tasks is really quite fun. So hopefully we have more of this. We'll try and think of another writing exercise.
Do you know what? Hopefully it's not just the three of us doing these weird little side tangents. We get those two in as well. No, I don't mind it, but it'd be nice to sort of walk the road with them as well.
I agree. Get everyone on board. It would have been really cool to see like Adam's attempt at that, because I really enjoyed his attempt at prose the last time. I was like, oh,
It was Saturday, wasn't it? Yeah, the sort of
Saturday, yeah.
the football
really,
ritual
really
thing.
good, that.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
And I liked it. I really liked it. I would have been interested to see what Adam would have tried for that. Maybe in a future episode we can like tack one of his on. Who knows?
Yeah, 4 totally different attempts there. It's good. It's interesting to see where everyone takes it.
Absolutely, 100%.
So before we do anything, before you get in there with your idea, Yola, I'm going to throw something else in there. We don't have to do it next time, but another example of flash fiction that will be really fun to do. And I've always wanted to do this. It's not necessarily 5 words, but a 1-sentence story.
Oh, wow. I was kidding. That's great.
And where this comes from is, and it's always stuck with me, this story, because it really upsets me. It's absolutely fucking heartbreaking. 1-sentence story, and it's by Ernest Hemingway. You might know the one that I'm speaking of, and it is 1-sentence story, absolutely devastating. For sale, baby shoes never worn.
Yeah, that's good. That.
And if you look online for 1-sentence stories, there's tons of cool stuff out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, we wouldn't necessarily, maybe that could be part of the idea that you've got, as in like we do that one first and then do that, because that's a quick flying one where we all throw a 1-sentence story or 2 1-sentence stories.
Yeah, it's not going to take long, is it?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Break it down.
It's cool as an exercise. I mean, you know, because thriller. Before I started this, I had to Google what the fuck, you know, the components of a thriller was. You probably should have done that, you know, before you wrote yours.
100%. 100%. But the thing is, I think we established that we could ignore him, and I just chose ignore.
Yeah, 100%.
I was just like, I can't be.
100%. 100%.
But I like that. Funnily enough, when we were talking, no, you finish. You finish.
No, I was.
Because funnily enough, I was literally going to suggest that myself, actually, because when I was looking into what exactly flash fiction was, like the official definition is that I think we established that flash fiction is anything between 5 and 1005. But if you go down to the minutiae of it, this isn't flash fiction, because you got flash fiction is a maximum of 1,500 words. Sudden fiction is 750 max, which is technically what we've done, I think. Then you've got a drabble or a microfiction, which is 100 words. You've got Twitterature, which is 280, as per Twitter's a maximum word count.
Twitter, yeah.
And then you've got 6-word story. Any story with a single-digit word count in it is a category unto itself. So we could do that. I'm in for like a single-digit word count. Like I'm cool for that. Or we could do like both.
You're not saying? Were you saying that the 1-sentence story wasn't flash fiction?
No, it is.
No, it's a variation.
It's a
variation of 6-word stories. These everything I just listed are examples of flash fiction.
So this was a sudden story, was it?
Sudden story, technically, and then I'm in for doing like a 6-word story or a single-digit story, like maybe just doing it single-digit, so you can go up to 9 minute, like maximum 9. Say that'd be fairly interesting, so you can like play around with it a bit more. And then I'm in for that. That sounds fun. Might not be much to read.
No.
Well, yeah, I guess we do that on top of something else.
Yeah,
I'm in for that.
Because it's cool. If you look at the time now, it's not exactly late, is it? We got through that quite nicely. There's four pieces of 500 words to read. I mean, even if we had one from Adam Bunn, wouldn't be terribly much longer, was it?
Home in time for supper.
Yeah.
We could possibly like try and do the smaller ones, like maybe do like a 6-word story, and like maybe do like a Twitterature or a drabble, 100-word one. So do 100 and a single one then, so we can have like call it the 101 Dalmatian sentences.
Would we still look for like themes / prompts for that, or would you just go completely whatever you want?
I suppose with the 6-word story, I think we.
I think 6-word story.
Do the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Your own devices.
Do your own thing on that one. But like maybe with the drabble, maybe like instead of it like it is now been like a genre, a object and a place, have it be one of the 3. So like literally like it could be like a drabble or a microfiction, 100 words about an object or about a place or about a certain genre. I don't like the genre one because I feel like it sort of like limits you to a certain degree. So maybe just do like an object or a place for like the 100 words and then just like freewheel it from there, see where we go. Be an interesting one. Are we in? Should we do that? So we should just start on the WhatsApp?
Yeah, go for it.
Do a 100-word one and a single-digit one.
Single digit, yeah.
and give ourselves 2 weeks because next week is But Suddenly.
But suddenly,
And then give ourselves. I'm not sure if we want to do map game after that, so we could
that's
make
going
it
to be
3
early
weeks.
December. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. So we can do. I do have that But Suddenly idea that I'm not going to spoil on stream that we're going to probably do before Christmas as well. So we'll do that.
We're cool.
In between.
We need Luke's But Suddenly at some point as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So so here's my other idea. Like it could be a Writey Tonightey thing, but like it could be I was thinking like it could be like instead of Writey Tonightey on occasion, is today I got back into writing one of my fucking many shitty B movie things, and I started writing. I essentially I've deleted Consumers as it is. This idea I had about supermarket monsters, and I've started to rewrite it, and I've started like an introduction, but I thought it'd be in the vein of what we had that idea, Phil, of like doing something together on stream again, where we like do one project on stream.
Yeah.
We should make it one of these B movies. Because the cool thing about B movies is that you can throw anything at the wall and it can stick
you can have a laugh with
without
it,
without there being like points of pride to it, like charity
like no
cases
filter.
where you're
It's just kind of
no, this is like not appropriate.
This isn't on theme.
Like,
it's
exactly.
just go silly with it.
Do whatever. So maybe we could do one of them. Like, so we could do like, I like the idea of it being Consumers because monsters are inherently interesting. And I have the least amount of ideas for that. So I feel like I would appreciate the input more, if you know what I mean? So having all of us be there. And I was thinking we could call it like To Be Movie or Not To Be Movie. Like, so call it B movie, have it be like a project that like the script is getting written on here as we do it. Yeah. And just like add shit and like have it go wherever we want to as we see fit. And I think that'd be really fun. It'd be kind of like an online writer's room, but we're writing a specific project. I think that'd be really cool. So I'll suggest it on the WhatsApp for everyone else as well. But
well, audience, you'll find out in due course.
You will. And I think that is
that's
pretty
us.
much us. Yeah, that's us done, guys. That was a really nice.
Guys, enjoyed that.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that exercise, and I feel like we should like play with this a bit more, like writing challenges and writing exercises.
Yeah, I found it really helpful actually because I've not actually put that much on paper, so it was good just to kind of. Yeah.
Whilst we're early, let's like have a look for some because I've got writing challenges to boost your creativity. I actually found some of these earlier. The snowflake method, I have no idea. Start with an ending, then write a story that leads up to it. Fairly interesting one, kind of like a prompt, but you have like a set ending. Start with a title, so that's kind of like our prompt thing. And then... Yeah,
I feel like these are dangerous territory because these feel like they are larger scope pieces of writing and that we might not be able to fit into one session.
No, we could limit them still. Like it'd be really interesting. I think 500 words was all right. 1,000 words would be all right as well. Like we can make it so like you can write anything between 500 and 1,000 words, but have a specific ending. Have it right with, and then the spaceship exploded. That's the ending, and then you just like write everything that what leads up to that. I think it'd be quite fun.
I quite liked the fact that we did I quite like the three aspects to the story, but we could possibly change that rather than necessarily just doing something like genre, location, object. We could play with that a bit more, and you could have something like, I don't know, perspective, color, and like we could go a bit off book with go a bit more basic, I suppose, with writing things like that dialogue, script or prose, or it doesn't necessarily have to be start with an ending.
Yeah, I quite liked it when you did the writing prompt, and I think it was one of the ones I missed, but it was like half of you did scripts and half of you did prose, and it's kind of interesting to
it's interesting, like little
approach the same prompt but through different mediums.
The reason we did this time round, the reason we did genre, object, and theme is because that there's a very popular flash fiction competition out there that I think is backed by the New York Times, and that's what they do. So that's the only reason we did it this time. But I agree, like we can 100%, it'd be really interesting just to sort of like have a story and your only basis is a color. Like, you just have a color that has to sort of like feature prominently in the story. That's cool. There's loads of them out there, and I think it's always good to have like practice, because for me, I'm in for having any practice. This was really good for me, genuinely. Like it was really good for me to sort of like show how much I could restrain myself and the sentence still flow like appropriately.
Yeah.
But like having other like exercises, I feel is good, because the thing I think with the prompt thing is fundamentally with the prompt, you had to have an idea for the prompt. If you didn't have an idea for a prompt, you're pretty much stuck. And even though we left it open-ended how much you write, you tend to like want to write a decent amount for it, and it gets a bit sort of overbearing to a certain degree, because obviously we're busy people, and like some of us are busier than others, everyone else except for me. But I just like I'm into the writing exercise thing. I wouldn't mind doing the ending one. I'm not saying we start with an ending, but I'm just like saying that, like, you know, like kind of like Luke knows about the Reddit writing prompts. Are writing prompts where people like give you a story or give you like something to start a story with. That'd be interesting. It'd be fairly like interesting sort of like twist of it is that we all had to end it a certain way. Just sort of like seeing where we go to that ending, as opposed to seeing where we go with just 3 random words. But maybe we can do what Luke suggested for our 100-word one that we're doing in the next one. Like have it be a bit more about, rather than being an object or something, have it be a bit more like about something a bit more abstract, maybe color or feeling. Could have it be like anger, or you could have it be red. Could have it be snowflakes, even though they're a concrete thing.
I like that.
So
I like. Well, do you know something? The starting with an ending. While before I pushed a bit of opposition towards that, I've just found I came to me before when you were talking of a really good example of that. Starting with an end doesn't have to be literally starting with the massive ending. It can be one sentence, and a great example comes from A Christmas Carol. The Marleys were dead to begin with. Started with an ending.
Yeah, I like that.
In its way, haven't you?
But you don't like, in my mind, you don't even have to have the ending, like, you know, the supposed ending be at the start of the sentence. You literally like you put that line at the end. So whatever you write it's at the end there. So it could be, you know, like he slumped to his knees, a gunshot wound in his chest. That could be the end, and like everyone else has to write how this guy got a gunshot wound to his chest.
Isn't that specifically the start of Muppets Christmas Carol?
Who?
The Marleys were dead to begin with.
She says
because
Charles.
In the
isn't it someone's dead as a doornail or something like that?
Well, I don't know. There's only one Marley, isn't there? Whereas
he says Marley was dead to begin with.
Was but yeah, because you said.
Did I say the Marleys?
Yeah, that's the.
Sorry, that's me. Muppet Christmas Carol. Just that's my favourite reference.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm with you.
It's
the peak. Chills you to the bone. Peak Dickens. And peak cinema. Peak everything.
Gonzo.
Peak Gonzo.
We could. I wanted to. If we were ever to jump back into prompts, right? I wanted my suggestion to be writing something for puppets. Puppets, because you know how much I love puppets, and that would be so much fun in my mind.
The books on the episode where Burge has Muppets at the end. That was brilliant.
Oh, it was so much fun, that, like a puppet therapy and stuff. It was ages. Yeah. But you know, funnily enough, I'm reading, and this is a book review now, apparently, this stream. But I'm currently reading Alan Moore's book, right? And Alan Moore, and this would be a really, like, it's too hard and it's too much words for us to do. But I had like a really profound moment reading Alan Moore's book yesterday, because it's so brilliantly done. There's this like short story in it. It's all short stories, and it starts off with this like sentence in like italics, and you can't fathom what the fuck it is. You're just like, what the hell is this? I don't understand it at all. And then you read, and then the next like paragraph is like normal, not italic writing, and then it just has a story. It has a story about these guys who meet to talk about cryptids, and they're in the meeting. They talk about how our human minds' needs to classify cryptids might mean that cryptids go unidentified, because like you know, that they need to keep an eye out for cryptids that like might have human-like features and just have like a small cryptid style to them, blah blah blah. And then as you read through the story, there's more little bits of italics that make no cohesive sense at all, until the very last one, where it's revealed to be the inner monologue of one of the members of the the meeting, and he is himself a strange version of a cryptid that looks entirely human, but he goes through the world backwards. So he was born at his death. He still, his days are still goes forward, but every time he sleeps, he goes back a day. So like he's born when he dies, and then he dies when he's born. And then you realize, oh shit, okay, that he's just explained that to me. And so you go back through this short story, reading the italics backwards, and all of a sudden it made a cohesive story. And I was fucking blown away by it. I was just like,
cool.
that is so
Clever.
fucking
Very
cool
cool.
and clever. And it's like such an Alan Moore thing to do as well. And I was just like blown away. So it'd be like really cool to maybe like do that. Not necessarily do every fucking thing, but like do like a backward story. If you know what I mean, like have it start with the end. The first sentence start with the end, and then the next one and the next one and the next one. But it still work like still
coherently.
Kind of
Yeah.
Coherently,
Okay.
yeah, it'd be really sort of interesting. Like kind of like Memento, but written.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Was that the inspiration for the thing you were talking about with me the other night with the book you're working on, like with flashbacks and stuff? And
No, I
know you've been working on that for a while, but
yeah, I've been working on that for a while. It's not necessarily going backwards because it's just flashes back to the first case. I just didn't want to do this is not a conversation for the stream, but I just didn't want to do like I wanted to start it a bit like
linear,
non-traditionally, but mostly I just wanted to start with the scene erupting. I didn't want it to start with like, what is that? You know, like anytime there's like one of these like shows where like something mysterious happens, it's always this cliche of like, what's that? Explain it to me. Give me some exposition. And I just really like the idea of like something having happened before that you only get to hear about through hearing about the second
that makes sense.
iteration of it. So, yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Shall we draw the line there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Cheers,
for
guys.
tuning in. This has been
absolutely.
Writey Tonightey.
Luke, you're not waving.
Oh, Luke's
And
doing
I am Trevor
hosting duties.
McDonald.
This has been the Writey Tonight. I'm Luke Williams. I'm